to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy, crafting impactful designs that inspires and elevate brands, none other than Miss Jessica Adanich. Well,
Yes.
welcome, Miss
Thank
Jessica
you.
on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yes. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. As you said, I'm Jessica Adanich, and I am the CEO and founder of Design Pod Studio, which is a design agency, and we focus on branding, graphic design, and marketing strategies.
And thank you so much for sharing your business to the world, Miss Jessica. Thank you. And today let's talk about the art of standing out, how strategic design build trust and loyalty. We hear the phrase strategic design a lot. Beyond just making things look good, what does it truly mean for a business to use design as a core strategy?
Yes. So, I think that strategic is often a word that's used a lot. It's a buzzword, but really it means making a plan. And just as you would make a plan for any other area in business, making a plan for design is incredibly important. It's visually and aesthetically how the world views you and what they see. It's your face, your logo's like your face, and everything else visually that makes up your brand is how the world sees you and how you show up. So it's important to do that with a plan and strategically.
Yes, strategically, for sure. At its core, how does something as seemingly subjective as a design translate into something as concrete as trust in the mind of a consumer?
Yes. So design, no matter if it's a product or a service, it really informs the consumer what they're going to be getting, right? It gives you a vibe. If it's calming, energetic, trusting, all of those components are reflected in a design. So it's really important to make sure that you get that correct. Often people will pick things for their logo or their branding that doesn't correspond to their brand or connect with their target audience. So, for example, you might find or see the healthcare or medical industry, a lot of their colors tend to be blue or green because they're calming. Those are colors that make us feel good, relaxed, and obviously healthcare is an area that you would want to feel calmed and relaxed about and trusting. So it's important to make sure that you make those decisions based on who your target audience is and what makes sense.
What makes sense for sure. So, Miss Jessica, can you share an example of a company where design is so integral to its identity that it's impossible to separate the product from the experience?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna use one. I would use Apple, but that's overdone. I'll use Target as an example because I think, first off, a lot of brands that are starting, they want to create a logo that is just an icon. That happens over time. Brands like Target, even Walmart, Apple, Under Armour, Nike, over years of using the same visuals consistently and having branding be consistent, that's when you get to the point where you can have just a graphic element be you know, related to your brand where people can just see an image and they're like, "Oh, I know who it is." But if you look at Target over time, people know that when they go there, they're going to have a certain shopping experience. It's not just about buying groceries, right? There's a lot of memes and videos online of, "Oh, I went to Target for one thing and then I came out with all these other things that I didn't intend on buying." Because Target is more than just a place to shop. It's an experience. They have Starbucks right there in the front door in a lot of Target. So when you walk in, you can have your coffee and walk around. It's supposed to be an enjoyable experience, and that throughout the brand, whether it's the app, commercials, radio commercials, their print ads, you can get that vibe and that feeling from that.
Interesting, Miss Jessica. In a world of infinite choice, what is the first thing a brand's design needs to accomplish to even get a second look from a potential customer?
Yes. Well, even before designing, it's important for a company to understand their target end user, who they're going to be selling to. And that really comes down to answering a lot of questions of what your brand stands for, what's your mission statement, your core values, what are you selling, where do you plan to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years? Is your target audience going to be in suburbia? Are they going to be more in the country area? All of those questions help inform you how you're going to design your logo and all of those materials. Because if you design for your brand something that you personally like, but your target audience feels a disconnect, then you're not going to hit the mark.
Building trust and loyalty. Trust is often built on consistency. How does cohesive design system across everything from packaging to website to customer service signal reliability to customers?
Consistency is the way that consumers connect the dots. You as your company, maybe as a startup or a solo entrepreneur, if you're in the beginning phases, you might feel like you're designing or that your materials are being created and everything looks boring, it's the same. But you have to understand that once you put those materials out in the world, you're being shown with everybody else. And those visual cues of the same fonts, the same colors, the same type of photography, the way you write your text, your copy, all of those things are the way that consumers are going to know, oh, that's the same brand, that's the same company. And then when they see those messages repetitively over time, they start to get to know you and they remember you. But if you're not consistent, then how would someone know that you are that company? I use the analogy or example of if you have a restaurant and you know them as Bob's Tacos, and then all of a sudden they change their name and it's under the same management. Well, they think it's under new management, right? Because now you have two different brands, essentially. So it's very important to be consistent and understand that you are being seen in a world with a lot of competition.
Interesting indeed, Miss Jessica. And beyond consistency, how can design elements like transparency in messaging or intuitive user interfaces actively build trust?
Yes. Well, I'm a big proponent of having brands understand their unique factor, especially in today's world. The market, every industry is incredibly flooded with competition. So consumers really want to know the face behind the brand. When I mentioned earlier in the conversation about mission statement and core values, people are more than ever, I feel, really looking into behind the company. What makes up a company, what's their foundation, what do they stand for, how do they make their products? And so I think that it's really important to have those things nailed down in the beginning, and you can show those in your design. A great example are common products like consumables, soda or soap. You think of your favorite brand in either of those areas, and I'm sure that you can say kind of what they stand for, whether it's natural ingredients or, fun, energetic. Coca-Cola, it's a legacy brand. When you think of them, there's certain things that come to mind, but all of that is reflected in their design.
Miss Jessica, let's talk about loyalty. How does strategic design move a customer from a simple one time transaction to becoming a passionate brand advocate?
Yes. So I feel like that really is backing up what you say in your marketing. If you say that you have amazing customer service or you have products that are, like I said, natural ingredients, or a product's going to do XYZ, that when the consumer gets that product, you make sure that it actually does that. If you say that you have great customer service, you should. And honestly, great customer service should not be something that is a yay or nay that you do. It should be 110% always having customer service. Today, that can really make or break a brand, in my opinion. We are so used to with automated systems calling a phone number and getting a robot, and now with AI increasing everywhere, people really just want to be treated like a human being. So if you have a great product, your marketing materials are consistent and are backing what you're saying about your product, and the product is what you say it is, then to have great customer service, people value that and they will come back again because you're showing them over and over again that you are a reputable brand and you care that that person is taking their hard-earned dollars that they've worked for and they're choosing you to spend their money with.
Indeed. Interesting design. So, can you recall a time when a company's thoughtful design in a moment of friction actually increase your loyalty to them?
Me personally, that's a
Yes,
good
please.
question. That's a very good question. I would say there's a few different brands that I've purchased things from. One of them, right off the bat, it's a company called Right in the Rain,
Hmm.
RITE. It's a brand that originally started to create paper materials for people that do field work. And the paper actually is allowed, you can write on it. It's able to be written on in the rain and water conditions. So farmers, marine biologists, people that are out in the elements can take notes and do what they need to do. And I absolutely love the product, and when I first purchased some items from them, when they shipped me the product, in the box came extra stickers and a thank you note. And as silly as that sounds, I was excited about it. It was that little extra step that I bought something from them and now I have a little piece of swag or a postcard with a handwritten signature of thank you for your purchase. It meant much more to me because that tells me that they've taken that extra step to think about my purchasing process. That yes, I've gone to their website. I obviously like their product. I've chosen to spend money on it and purchase it, but they've thought through the next steps of that, of me actually receiving the product and wanting to keep that process be positive so that I will be a returning customer. And to me, I think that the brands that go that extra step, even if it's throwing in a piece of candy or, anything, I think that is a nice added extra touch that often companies don't think about once a package goes out the door, if that makes sense.
Makes sense for sure. They will make you special. Emotional connection is key to loyalty. How can design deliberately evoke the right emotions to create a lasting bond with an audience?
Yes. So this goes back to the beginning of the planning phases, understanding your target audience, understanding your product. If you have a brand that you really want to convey energetic, positivity, bright, you're not going to select pastel colors or muted colors. You're going to want to show that through your colors, through photography. If you have a company that has a really strong tie to environmental causes, you're going to want to show, positive, happy animals. You're not going to show aggressive animals. You're going to show environmental shots. All of those different things back up what you're saying. So it really goes back to those planning phases in the beginning to understand who you're selling to and what that emotion is. Emotion is visually everywhere. And often creativity and design, it's hard to explain. I work with a lot of clients and they might not be able to tell me what they want changed in their designs, but they can tell me how it makes them feel. And if you're working with a professional designer, if you can tell them how it makes you feel, they'll be able to make those changes. But it is incredibly important because design is like professional artwork, if that makes sense. And art is something that throughout centuries, since the beginning of time, is a way to communicate and evoke emotions. And design for companies is a way to do that and can connect you to your consumer.
Interesting answer, Miss Jessica. Let's talk about the practical application and pitfalls. For a small
Yes.
business or startup with limited resources, what is the one of a design that you should invest in first to get the biggest return in terms of trusting building?
Yes, I would say the biggest thing that you should invest in is a professionally done logo. And I say that because in designing your logo, although it's not all of your branding, your logo is kind of the face of your company. It's a big, big element of your branding. But doing it correctly in the beginning is going to save you a lot of time and energy down the road. Right now, I'm finding a lot of companies using AI platforms to create their logo, but then they go to design something large, like a booth backdrop or a large sign, and that logo file is not of quality or high enough resolution to print properly. So then they're having to go back to a professional designer to have the logo done in a design format that the printer can print. So I really recommend, you can use AI as a tool in the creative process to maybe get some ideas down and then pass off to a designer to say, this is really what I'm thinking, this is what I would like, because visuals are a great way to communicate what you're seeing in your head. But to have AI create your final piece, it really is not best practice. Also, making sure that you really do love your logo in the beginning, because if you're 3, 5 years down the line and you realize your logo is not connecting what you do in your business to your end consumer and you want to redo it, you might have your logo on business cards, rack cards, packaging, vehicle wraps, t shirts, and all of that has to be redone. So in the beginning, it's really important to think of the logo and the branding as the foundation of the house or the building that you're constructing, than just let me get it done. Because it really is a big, big thing. If you look at massive brands, had they rushed their logo, then they wouldn't have that visual that connects them to their audience. Apple, I hate to use it, but it's the easiest one. Now you see that icon, a simple one color outline of an apple, and you get the feeling, you understand what products they're selling. You're automatically connected to everything that they do. I'm a big proponent of making sure that companies do their logo correctly in the beginning.
Miss Jessica, what was the common design for trust? Mistakes you see even well established companies making these subtly erode customer confidence.
For that, I think business owners, and I'm guilty of it as well, sometimes I have to step away from designs that I'm doing for my own company, is that they overthink it. They want to make things too complicated, and they want to pack everything into, it's like the saying, putting an encyclopedia on the side of a penny. When you're designing materials, whether it's a logo, a catalog, whatever it may be, sometimes making it too busy misses the mark, and you get a disconnect with your end consumer. So I think going with the rule of more simple is better, keep it simple, and clean is better than trying to overload it. A lot of companies will think that they have to include all of the information on one material or one piece of packaging, but that's just not the way it works or best practice.
Miss Jessica, as a founder and CEO, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short term and long term, there's a few of them that are similar in the fact that I always want to first and foremost make sure that I'm morally and ethically doing right by my clients. I've built Design Pod on the basis that our whole goal is to help businesses reach their goals. And instead of putting them in a box, we make a box for them. I think that a lot of companies want to have, you know, pick A, B, or C, and you have to fit into this box. But every business is different, and not just based on the products that they're selling or the services that they offer, but the team, the personality, what makes up the company, their internal vibe and culture. And all of that should be taken into account when you're designing for them. So I really want to always make sure that my agency stays true to that when we meet with a client, we really see them and hear them for who they are and what they want and how they want their company to be perceived in the world, and design for that. And so, yeah, short term, I want to obviously grow the company, and we've got some special projects going on, which we're really excited about. And then long term, make sure that we always stay true to our roots.
Good luck to you, Goldsmith Jennifer, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece
Thank
of
you.
advice for those people out there who want to be a founder as well as CEO of a company?
I would say understand that there's going to be things that you don't know, and always ask for help.
Yes. Ask for help.
And yes, you can't know it all, and there's going to be good times and bad times. It's just how you handle and perceive those bad times and how you get through them. But it's perseverance and taking one step at a time.
Yes, and thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes, the first one is Purple Cow by Seth Godin. It's a fantastic book. I think no matter what industry you're in, it can really help you understand and think about your own brand and how you're being perceived in the world. And then the other book is Buy Back Your Time, which is all about understanding growth. And if you are a business owner or a CEO or aspire to be that, where is your time best spent? And how do you end up over time delegate? And where should you delegate? Because as you grow in a business, you can't obviously do it all and you need to start building a team. So those are the two that I would recommend.
Yes, thank you for that recommended books, Miss Jessica. And if you could leave our audience with one non-negotiable principle of strategic design for building trust, what would it be?
I would say, and I don't know if this is going to count, but I'm going to say it anyways. My biggest thing is that think of professional design and design strategy as an investment versus a cost. A lot of businesses see it as, oh, we're going to spend dollars here and it's a waste. If you look at it as an investment and you're investing in brand awareness and growth and how the world sees you, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to make decisions on spending money on it.
Thank you for that advice. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Jessica, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book one review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 is third season, and food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, Movie 101, Music 101 are in their fourth season. And my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Of course, my Bible verses 101 and Science 101 and Sex 101. And it's second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Jessica, looking ahead, what emerging design trend you believe it will continue for our generations to come?
I think right now the biggest one, which is a huge conversation in a lot of areas, is how is design and AI going to evolve over time?
Mm. So do you think it will evolve in the near future? It's more
I
futuristic, more like human design.
correct. I think just like the invention of the computer, internet, digital photography, uh, it's coming, it's here, obviously, and it's just learning how do we use those tools for good and responsibly, and still also allow the brilliant creative mind to be a part of that process and not relying fully on computers, because we've seen technology grow and it's rapidly growing over time, but we can do both. We can have the natural creativity of the human brain and also use technology as a positive tool. So it'll be interesting to see what we do with that in the years to come. I think it is exciting, and it's a great way for business owners who don't have a lot of internal team members to be able to do more with less.
Miss Jessica, thank you so much for sharing your design to the world. Yes, can you
Thank you for
please?
having me.
Yes, so can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, I would love, if you're interested in learning more design tips and information, you can visit designpod.studio. We have a great blog on there that we release articles twice a month with great content.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Jessica Adanich because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering design to come. So, Miss Jessica, thank you so much for your time.
Of course, thank you.
Maricon people, see you soon.